Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Hub Underground. Matt Dolph here with Ty Anderson, as we are every single episode. You can get every episode on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can get every episode at 985thesportshub.com and the Sports Hub app. We are sometimes on YouTube. You might be able to tell if you're listening on audio that we're dealing with the little USB mics, which means we are on YouTube. We are on YouTube this week. It is a remote episode. Ty is here. One of his cats is here. I can't tell which one that is, sleeping in the background on top of the cat tree there. But fans of Ty's cats, please switch over to YouTube right now.
That's Grimmy. That's Grim.
Hey, yeah, fresh off knocking another Ty's most recent Celsius off the dresser or whatever the hell she's up to.
She did knock it off the table the other day. She started climbing, and I was like, "Why are you up there?" And next thing you know, she knocked over my my nice Alani Nu that I got, the cherry slush flavor. Great flavor.
Of course. Oh, that sounds good.
It actually is really good.
Cherry slush was my go-to. I feel like I was the weird one back in the day because most people would get like the lemon slush, but I thought the cherry was that was a staple of my childhood, my summer childhood.
Yeah, it all depends what branding you have, right? Like if you were going somewhere in the South Shore, I always found the South Shore had Slush Puppy a lot for whatever reason. I didn't know why, but I felt like Slush Puppy was more prevalent on the South Shore. If you were doing Slush Puppy, cherry was the way to go. Cherry or blue. I don't know what blue, like blue raspberry, I think. Like
I don't know what blue. It is. Just blue.
Yeah, that was the move. If you were getting Richie's, though, which is, again, North Shore staple, I think Richie's slush, Richie's Italian ice, whatever you want to call it.
Italian ice, yeah.
Cherry was phenomenal. But also, don't sleep on watermelon. Watermelon was a really good flavor for Richie's growing up. And growing up in Chelsea, there was a Richie's like brick and mortar right on Everett. It was like impossible to get to. It was like right off a highway, basically. But you can go to the brick and mortar there. It was very popular, like the bodegas, too, that you had around Chelsea and Everett. Those little like convenience store shops that had everything. They would always have the big white tub of Richie's. Oh, it's fantastic. But yeah, cherry was the move back then.
I think that's where I don't know if it was Richie's per se, but it was the North Andover general store.
Yeah.
That was like, downtown. And like, you could tell by the building that it was like going back to like the 1600s. It was like the old trading post. But in my childhood, it was the general store. Mm-hmm. And they had like the old ice box filled with all the slush in it. You're bringing back some memories, Ty. I'm really learning a lot from you today. Very smooth, very classy.
I'm trying to, so I lived in Chelsea, and I think this is the store. I'm going to look it up right now. There was a place. I think this was it. Yeah, I'm looking on Google Maps right now. It was called Barrows Market, right? And it was La Consolarina Market. It was like a bodega, basically. Like it was this family owned like little thing. They had everything, but they mainly had like sodas and candy and chips, and it was a convenience store. And I would walk there from where I lived in Chelsea. It was like the only place my parents let me walk. It was like 2 blocks away, and I could just run home if anything bad happened. But I would walk there, and you could get like you just bring like a little pile of quarters, and you could live like a king. You get the brisk iced tea, you get a slush, you get a little candy bar. You're good to go, baby. It was great. I loved that. So I missed that.
Yeah, no, I used to get like $5, and then you go down, you can get a slush, a thing of candy, and you're good for the day. Good for the afternoon, anyway. I don't know if kids have that stuff, and kids don't have that experience anymore. It feels.
Barrows Market is called now. I wonder if it says still open here, so that's kind of fun, But yeah,
that's fun. Yeah,
why not?
The North Andover General Store, I don't think is in business. I think I turned it into, I don't know, some corporate AI data center, probably.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, in Billerica, it was called the Wiffle Tree. I think it was what it was called. And it was like a Yankee Candle / like general store where you could buy like Yankee Candle products, but also like, ciders and pumpkins and big jugs of spring water. Like I wonder if that's still around. I have no idea, but nevertheless.
Did you ever come home with just a pumpkin for no reason?
No, but I would always come home with like the big bags of like the Cowtails candy. Oh, remember that? Remember Cowtails?
No, what are Cowtails?
They were like caramel, it was like caramel with like vanilla in the middle. It was you would know it if you saw it. Okay. And then they had like those, like, I don't know if they were like Dutch or like Danish, but it's like Gutsi or whatever, and it was like a bullseye. They were called bullseyes.
Bullseye, that rings a bell.
Yeah, it was like the same maker as Cowtails. It was like it was same kind of product idea. But yeah,
I think I was more just a pure sugar guy as a kid. Starburst, Skittles.
Yeah.
Every now and then you spring for a Big League Chew.
Big League Chew, grape.
Fun Dip. Yeah.
Yeah. No, those are all elite moves. Those are great. Those are what I really miss. And you don't find them anymore because everyone who ate these is now dead, unfortunately. Root beer barrels. Remember root beer barrels? Those were what a delightful candy that was.
Like the gummy root beer barrels.
But everyone who ate those was like 95 years old back in 2003. So they're all definitely dead now, unfortunately.
Oh, I thought you were saying they died of diabetes. I didn't know you
were no, like the hard candy suckers, the root beer barrels. Oh, they were so good.
Oh, big see, fan. I've never been a root beer guy, so I never touched anything else related to root beer either.
I mean, it's fine. That's understandable. It's acquired taste. I understand. I actually like root beer. If I go to a bar or a restaurant and you tell me you got root beer, I'm like, you got IBC? And they're like, yeah, bring that on over. That's what we want right now. Not off the gun, but if you got IBC, I'm into it.
Yeah. Remember Moxie? That's another old person thing.
Horrible. My grandmother loved it. My late grandmother loved Moxie. And
I never tried it, but I was always curious.
No, I mean, just drink like rust in a can and like you'll know what it tastes like.
That's what the branding was like. What color is the can? Rust.
Yeah. No,
rusty dumpster.
It's not good.
Color scheme.
It's not good. And people who are like, no, I like it. No, you're lying. It's okay, but you're lying. Just for the record here.
It's funny. There's probably at least one person on Twitter where it's like, if you don't like Moxie, you deserve to be killed. It's an insane take. Why would anyone have that take? It's crazy.
One of my best friends, he posted a picture of himself on the beach this year, like just sitting on he's got 2 kids. He brought his kids to the beach. And he posted a picture of himself, like just sitting in like the beach chair holding a Moxie. And I wrote back, I was like, there's no way you like that drink. And he's like, yeah, you're right. He just admitted it. He's like, yeah, you're right. It's not good.
He just turns around and throws it.
Yeah. I'm like, the aesthetic here is very cool, but what a terrible drink you have. And he was like, yeah, you're not wrong. It's not good.
You're right. It's like you just convince him over the course of the conversation.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
It's like I remember the old Opie and Anthony clip. I don't remember where they're talking about Face Off, the old movie with John Travolta.
Never seen it.
Cage. And Patrice O'Neal's like, oh, that's a great movie. And Jim Norton's like, no, come on, movie's terrible. He starts pointing out little details over the course. And then 5 minutes later, Patrice is like, you're right, the movie sucks. It's one of the funnier old Opie and Anthony clips. You should go listen to it. Whether you've seen the movie or not. The movie is ridiculous.
Well, that's like when
Nicolas Cage, I mean,
when Wicked came out, the sequel, the old clip of Patrice O'Neal like driving in like a double-decker bus in New York City being like, Wicked's out, terrible play. It's if the Wicked Witch was good, that old bitch was terrible. He's like, this movie's terrible. I'm like, that's such a good clip to resurface with those movies coming out.
R.I.P. Patrice O'Neal. He was well, it didn't seem like anybody liked him, but he was definitely a funny person.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Let's transition. So this is the first podcast we've done since we tore it up on the radio airwaves the last couple weeks of 2025.
Yeah,
I think we used up a lot of our natural resources when it comes to us doing shows and talking sports. We did a good 8 hours of radio together.
Yeah,
it was
like 8 episodes of of the Sports Up Underground all in one.
Yeah, no, seriously, we did. Yeah, we did. We used up 2 months worth of Sports Up Undergrounds on 2 radio shows. I haven't had a chance to really ask you about not a show that I was on, but a show that you were on with Matt McCarthy before me and Bart, that was possibly the horniest radio show I've ever heard in my 39 years on this earth.
Well, it's got me in it, so it's got to be horny.
I mean, well, you brought it up. This is 100% you. You brought up the horny Christmas songs. Why is Christmas such a horny holiday? This is the same thing as like the Patrice O'Neal face-off thing, where it's like Matt McCarthy was like, "No, come on, please. There's like 2 songs." And you're like, "No. You haven't heard of the Mrs. Claus sat on my face?
Yeah,
you haven't heard the timeless classic." My dad's gay for Santa Claus. Like I haven't heard any of these songs. I was like, what is happening here? And then people called in.
Yeah, and they started telling about
Santa
even more songs I didn't know about that were like incredibly erotic. You know, it's just
the night
unbelievable.
Santa solicited a prostitute. I was like, I haven't heard of any of these. I'm gonna go check them out.
Yeah, it was a real thing. It's a real thing. I mean, it happens.
I didn't realize it. I was like, okay, it's that one song, "Baby It's Cold Outside." It's a little creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. I thought it was just that, but then like people just started calling in with all these examples, and I was like, wow, you're right. No wonder there's so many like summer babies. Christmas, horniest time of the year.
Yeah, no, it's it's a real thing. I mean, I get it. You know, I understand like the subtle undertones of it all, right? Like, but it's like hornier than Valentine's Day, which is kind of wild to think about, but it's true.
Which is like the whole point of Valentine's Day is to be horny for each
but
other.
You know what it is? It's all the cakes, it's all the sweets, it's all like the, you know, it blends itself to that kind of you know, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, so that's a real thing that happened. Hey, I back it. It makes me uncomfortable, but if it makes you happy, gets you going, why not? Go for it.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine. I couldn't believe all the examples people were calling in with.
Yeah,
songs I never heard of.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was good. We made it through 8 hour, like a 4-hour radio show. Ty, it's like I don't know how anyone does it 5 days a week. Like I don't know how any of our colleagues do that show all week. Maybe it just depends on the person.
Yeah.
Like, by the time I'm done doing even like one of these podcasts, I'm like drained.
You know what it is?
Socializing is almost like physical exercise for me.
I do believe that, you know, when you're on for a couple days in a row, like I was on for a couple days in a row. Like I was on, you know, we did Sunday and then Wednesday or Wednesday and then the next Sunday. Like I can't remember, but when you're on in like rapid succession like that, like you realize how you can get in trouble and how you can just have a dumb opinion, right? Or how you can like, you got to say stuff. You got to say stuff to generate traffic and to generate, you know, whatever. Right. And I kind of compare it to like pro wrestling where like you got to kind of amp up who you are. You got to amp up the ego. You got to amp up like the energy, the character, whatever the case may be. Because like I do believe that when it comes to like analyzing a team and analyzing a sport, like I try to be very like down to earth and very like level headed. I think especially with the team that I cover, because it's 82 games a year and like you can't get too high or too low after a game, because if you win 3 in a row, who cares, right? Like that game that you just freaked out about is meaningless, right? But like you do have to amp it up a little bit, right? If I do 4 hours telling you that everything is okay and why it's okay, that's not going to be very entertaining. I understand that. And so like you do see how people get like bad takes. Oh, that's going to age poorly. It's like, all right, well, you know, we did a show that day. So I do think that it is illuminating, I guess, right? Like when you do it consistently, you do realize like the buttons you got to tweak a little bit, right? And I think like speaking personally, and I don't know if this happened to you or not, but like I've done shows where like, you know, the Tanner Jeannot signing, right? Like I was freaking out about that. I throw my head down. I'm like, oh, what are they doing? You know, and then people who I talk to are like, hey, you know, why are you hating that so much? And I'm like, I don't like it, but I'm not like, that's not how I actually feel about it. Like I got to amp it up a little bit of why it's bad. Like, I'm not saying I don't believe that, but like, we got to have some dramatics with it. You know, we got to make it entertaining. We got to make it whatever, you know, like it is funny that some people just don't get that. You know what I'm saying? Like there is still that part of it.
People still don't get it. Like that's why Felger and Maz are so successful. Part of it, someone call in and be like, you're not that mad. You don't actually care about this. You're just screaming to troll. And they're like, yeah, I mean, we're doing a show. That's all it is.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I think you gotta be self-aware and just sort of admit that. And I think you can get away with saying just about anything. You know, from a sports perspective, you don't want to get too controversial. Right. Of course, we had to do a full radio show with just half the Patriots roster getting accused of all kinds of violent crimes.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bummer. I'm not going to lie to you. I was not. That was not the way that I saw that one going, unfortunately. No. But you know, it happens. Whatever.
I mean, yeah, now they're just going to play. The legal process will play out in the offseason. It's funny how it's also another thing that's funny is that something like that happens, and then you're in the middle of it. You're on the highest rated station in town. You have to talk about it live, real time. It feels like such a big deal. It feels like the biggest thing in the world. It feels like it's never going to go away. You're going to spend the next month talking about it. It's going to ruin it's going to be all these things, and it's just no. They're going to play.
Yeah,
they pushed it all back. The lawyer got to push it all back. Not saying the cases aren't a big deal, but it's just from a football perspective, we would the first thought is oh my God, are they even going to be on the field? Commissioner exempt list. It's no, they just filibustered until they moved back the arraignment, and that's it. So now we're just playing football. I mean, that's all I know. I don't want to pretend to be a legal expert. I think a lot of people do that. They try to pretend to be an expert on things they're not in. I try to minimize that personally. I think it's better to say you don't know. Right?
Yeah, I think it's.
You gotta
I think it's
here.
Yeah. No. I just this is one of those things where I don't I need more facts before I make declarative statements, obviously, but I think it's best case scenario for the Patriots, right? The Barmore stuff is the stuff that's really uncomfortable when you read the reporting and the police report, and you don't know what's going to happen there, but it seems like it's an off-season issue for the team. The Diggs stuff, I do find it telling that they kind of threw their whole support behind him and not for Barmore. Sorry for being quiet, by the way. I was trying to fight off a sneeze that I could feel coming on. No.
It's this guy's not even giving me a snicker.
No,
not even moving his face.
That tickle in your nose where you're oh, it's coming. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Now that makes perfect sense. You were
I've been wrestling that.
Frozen.
Yeah, I was wrestling that in my mind for 3 minutes, which was great. But no, the Diggs, I think it's telling that they threw their weight behind Diggs and not Barmore, right? And it's interesting because I think you look at where they are organizationally, and if you were telling me right now, who's more the franchise pillar, it'd be Barmore. Diggs is more of a mercenary, right? You bring him in on what's effectively a 1-year deal, right? And you want to see what he has in the tank. If you look at it, from a foundation standpoint, foundational pillar, whatever you want to call it, Barmore is more in your future plans than Stephon Diggs, but they throw their full weight behind Diggs, but not Barmore, which tells you maybe they themselves are these details are not ideal. Let's just get through this and see what's on the horizon here, So
yeah.
That's really interesting. That's the part that I think intrigues me more than anything else. It's just how do they support it? You know what I mean? And how do they go from there?
Yeah, I wonder if either guy is even here next year. We'll see. Even whether it has anything to do with the cases or not. I don't know. I don't know if either of those guys are long for the organization, but that's off in the future. Do you want to talk about the Bruins now?
Yeah, let's do it.
On the Patriots. I don't know if you want to talk football at all. I've been in Patriots land. I need to depend on you for the catching up on the Bruins the last several weeks. I've watched some of it, but I've been in Patriot land for a while.
Yeah. My only take on the Patriots is I'm happy that they beat they beat the Chargers. I didn't subscribe to the notion that everything's gravy. They're better than we thought they were. It's no. When you're 14-3, you got to win a playoff game. That might seem a little, that shouldn't be unfair, but no, you got to win at least one playoff game. So if they were to lose to the Texans, a team that I saw just bludgeon Aaron Rodgers for 60 minutes on Sunday, I can swallow that a little bit better. But even then, I'm still kind of I want you getting to the AFC title game. So, I think if they lost last Sunday, I would have been failure. It's a failure. It's a failure to be that good and then lose in the wild card game. So they're almost there. I want one more playoff win. If you get out of this round, but then lose in Denver, which has been a house of horrors basically our entire lives as Patriots observers, or if you lose to Josh Allen and the Bills, I can swallow that, right? Even the Texans, if you lose to the Texans, but CJ Stroud plays as unimpressive as he was last Monday, I'm I don't love that, so. But I did find that was my only thought that I had entering that weekend was just don't lose wild card weekend. That'd be a failure. That would undo the 14 games because nobody would care about the 14 games if you go to the wild card round and only put up 10 points, you know?
Yeah, no, we talked about that on the radio a little bit, like leading into that game, that very game against the Chargers, where it's like you gotta. Well, actually, that was before the regular season finale. We talked, not before the Chargers, but we were saying like you got to win this one game. Like that's how the expectations changed for me over the course of the season. Like if they were 9-8 and just barely snuck into the playoffs and they were the 7th seed, it's like, all right, you made it back. You're respectable again. You don't have to win this game, but like, number 2 seed, 14-3 at home against an inferior opponent coming west to east. It's like, all right, you got to win this one game. So now if they lose to the Texans this weekend, definitely not like a fail or anything. It won't be a huge disappointment, but I do expect them to win still. I expect it to be similar to the Chargers game where, it's going to be tough for both offenses. Like Drake May is going to be under duress and hopefully he doesn't turn it over as much as he did against the Chargers. But I think at the end of the day, he makes a few more plays than CJ Stroud. And that's the difference. Like he made more plays than Justin Herbert. I feel like that was ultimately the difference in the game. So I think that'll be the difference this weekend. All right, so Patriots talk out of the way. Let's move on to the local hockey club. I think a lot of our listeners tune in specifically for the hockey talk. I don't want to be a slave to that, Ty. I want us to talk about whatever the hell we want. So I will put in the timestamps. Hopefully, by you saw the timestamp and you jumped ahead to this part if you really need Bruins talk that bad. But Bruins, they're running a hot streak, Ty. They're on a hot streak. They've established themselves as a very streaky team. You wrote about it at 985thesportsup.com. They're riding the wave. And I get it. Teams are going to have ups and downs over the course of the season. I do think it's a little extreme with the Bruins. They lose 6 in a row. Now they've won 6 of 7. Right now they're in the wild card spot, which is a pleasant surprise at this stage of the season. But like, I don't know. What do you make of that streakiness? Like, I know like the goaltending's been a lot better. Jonas Korpisalo's on a bit of a streak after he was on a cold streak. Now he's on a hot streak. So maybe it kind of lives and dies with their goaltending. But like, what do you make of the fact that the Bruins have just these extremes of playing bad and then playing well, and the losses and wins both coming sort of in bunches? What's your takeaway from that?
Yeah, I think it was really interesting to hear Marco Sturm kind of talk about how this is not a Bruins exclusive problem. You look around, like look at the division leader right now in the Atlantic, right? It's the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay Lightning have won 11 games in a row, right? Tampa Bay has also had 3 different streaks of at least 3 losses, right? And so it's just a very up and down kind of year for a lot of teams involved. And Marco said it after Tuesday's game. And I'm not one to always buy in on what the coach is saying in terms of like, oh yeah, he said it, so it must be true. But no, I went and looked through some of the teams that we have been tracking and following closely this year, the teams that are great, the teams that are bad, and how they get there. And you do notice that with the teams that are both good and bad, like they are riding the wave. There are teams that will lose 5 in a row and then win 7 in a row. And those teams are in a better spot than the teams that are in last place, right? Like Ottawa's a great example. Ottawa has had, I think, now 4 different stretches of losing at least 3 games this year. They've also had a couple of 5-game win streaks in there. And so I just think that with this kind of schedule and with the way things are going for a lot of these teams, if you get stuck in a rut, it's hard to get out of because you got 4 games in a week, right? You're not practicing, not a lot of video sessions. Like you're kind of that quick turnaround. We've seen it with the Bruins. They'll have weeks where they're playing 5 games in 8 days. You're like, oh my God, like how do you get out of it? And so I think that they have been a team of high highs and low lows, but that's been the case for a lot of teams in the NHL. And right now, the Bruins have been able to sort of, I think, mitigate and really downplay some of those rougher stretches by being able to rattle off 4 in a row, 5 in a row. Like you kind of forget they lost 6 in a row entering and coming out of the break, or between the break and the first game back. Like they were on a losing streak, right? But now they've won, I think, 7 of 8 since New Year's Eve. Like, so they found a way to get rid of that 6-game losing streak. And that's been impressive, but it is a really unique year in that regard. It reminds me a lot of like the lockout years or the pandemic year where like, you're like, oh my God, there's no time to breathe here. So if things are going well, that's awesome. But if things are going poorly, holy shit, things can go really poorly really quickly.
That's what I mean. Like, I feel like it's still a little more polarizing. Like, I mean, with Tampa, you said 3 losses but 11 wins, where it's
Mhm.
like I get it. Like, if you end up with a winning percentage, you end up with a 6.67 winning percentage. Doesn't mean you're winning exactly 2 out of 3 every 3 games. Like, I get
Mhm.
it. It's a game of streaks and ups and downs. But the Bruins, like, it's a little more pronounced. Like I said, like they lost 6 in a row, and now they've won 6 of 7. Is what the most recent streakiness is. But I don't know if they can end the regular season on the hot streak and sneak into the playoffs. I think we'll be happy. Yeah, the Eastern Conference standings is kind of shape shifting a little bit, Ty, from where it was earlier in the year. We got Buffalo now in the first wild card spot. They've been playing well. I actually watched a little of that game last night because it was on TNT. I got HBO. I got the HBO app, and you can watch TNT hockey games on there. So I caught a little of that game, and they looked pretty good. I couldn't believe it. I was like, are they actually kind of figuring that out over there in Buffalo? Because we've said,
Yeah.
like, for all their talent, they can't put it all together. It feels like maybe they're starting to put it together. Toronto's kind of woken up. So yeah, like the Bruins, like it's good to see them in a wild card spot, and they're in the mix like we were all hoping they would be at this point in the year. But I think it's still kind of an uphill battle. I checked a point percentage; they're still 11th in the conference, so they probably still have some catching up to do in terms of point percentage. And the teams that are still in the mix, like New Jersey, I think other than like Ottawa and the Rangers, like every team's sort of in the mix right now in
Mhm.
the conference. So I don't know. I think I'd rather see them win a little more steadily than go on a 6-game losing streak than win 7 in a row. I don't know what they could do to be more consistent, but like, what do you think? What do you think is what do you think is sustainable from this? I mean, just look at this most recent streak. Like, what can they sustain that they can keep going and like that can keep them afloat for the rest of this season and sneak them into the playoffs?
Well, I think cutting down on the penalties has proven to be part of their elixir for success. And if you go, it's very rare that a team is going to only have 2 penalties a night. But if you look at the games that they've won, when they don't take penalties, they typically win. You know why? Because they're able to ice David Pastrnak and Morgan Geekie with regular shifts, and you're not grinding down Nikita Zadorov and Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm when he's healthy. Their record when they take 2 penalties or fewer is 9-3-0. Like it's 75 winning percentage. 750 winning percentage. Like that's the trick. That is what's going to win you more games than lose them. And I think that's been their biggest thing is they take only 2 penalties against Detroit. Detroit's a team that thrives on the power play. So there you go. There's your formula. You're not killing 9 minutes of penalties and 10 minutes of penalties per night. Like, no, you're finding ways to keep the game at 5-on-5. We've seen this team at 5-on-5. They can be a grind team. They can wear teams down by the third period. And I thought Tuesday was a great example of that. Tuesday against Detroit was a great example of how they want to play. I would even argue that, that game against Pittsburgh on Sunday night, you win 1-0, and that's going to be rare. We have to agree that's going to be rare, but you really grinded them down. Both teams were tired, but you grinded them down. And hey, kudos to Nikita Zadorov in that game, by the way. He played the final 4:01 over the final 5:19 of the game. That's crazy that he was out there for over 4 minutes of the final 5 minutes of the game. But that's the key, is just staying out of the box. Like that has proven to be their key. If they can limit that, right, and not take the dumb penalties, the stick infractions, the cheap hooks, because you're behind the play, like we've talked about in previous podcasts, like that is their key to success. You got to stay out of the box, because when they stay out of the box, they have proven to be at times overwhelmingly strong team at 5-on-5 play.
Yeah, no, it's good that I think you're better off staying out of the box than I think you're better off just letting the guy carry the puck and just try to play defense as opposed to, get caught chasing and get those stick infractions and now you're shorthanded. Like I think you're better off just trying to defend at 5-on-5. So yeah, it is definitely good that they are cutting back on the penalties. Zadorov, chief among them. He was the king of dumb penalties last year, and he's cut back on that this year. And so that's been good to see. But yeah, like what about the goaltending? Like, I mean, Korpisalo has been playing really well. Swayman with a shutout of, again, the first place Red Wings the other day. And he had interesting call. Like, it sounded like he and Korpisalo have a pretty good relationship. Like, I know, like, people of our ilk might want to drum up there being like a controversy or them, not liking each other, guys in the locker room not liking Swayman, all that stuff. But I don't know. The goaltenders seem like they have a good relationship and they're sort of pushing each other, and it's going well right now. Like, I don't know, can they keep it up? Like, I think it's been a little frustrating to see them sort of, take 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Mm-hmm.
But look, if they keep up the way they've been playing lately, like the Bruins could keep the streak going.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was never about Swayman versus Korpisalo, right? It was more about Korpisalo wants to play more, and if Swayman's not playing well, why is he not playing more? I think that was more of it than sort of a tug of war between the two guys. I just felt like Korpisalo thought, like, I can help him get better if I just play more and he's not playing so much. And that was something that, like, I had talked to people on the team a year ago, and it was made clear that, like, there was no beef between them. Like, the beef was more the deployment, right? Like, Korpisalo kind of felt like, hey, I can spell him by, if you turn to me more, and I'm going to be better as a result, and he's going to be better as a result. Like, what are we doing here? And I think there was an element there of, like, the Bruins not wanting to let go of the rope, and realize, hey, no, you're bad. You're not making the playoffs. Don't worry about it. Like, they were riding Swayman because they're like, oh, we got to get in the playoff race. We got to get in the playoff race. And it's like, you're not going to make it, man. And then once they didn't make it, it was like, all right, now we can play Korpisalo more. It's like, no, like use him more. Right. And I do feel like, maybe a light bulb has gone off where I'd want to say that Seattle game may have been the light bulb where they were like, you got to use the backup more, or you got to do something up because, like, this isn't going to work. Right. And then I found it telling that, like, they land back in Boston and, Sturm's like, yeah, we're going to probably change how we use the goaltenders. It's like, yeah, you should. Like, why are you wasting all these bullets right now in December and January? Save them for March when you really need them. Like, we know by now that Swayman is not good playing 4 games in a week. Like, so why don't we save that until the playoffs when we've seen him be good in that role, right? Like, why are you doing that in January, in December? You don't got to do that right now. And I think, so I do think that a light bulb has kind of gone off organizationally where it's like, no, we got the backup making $3 million. Like, you got to use him, right? Like, that's a real expensive doorman if you're not using him, like, and it's just, it's not worth it for the team.
Yeah, no, I get it. Hopefully they stick to what they've been doing lately, because what they've been doing lately is working. So don't, and don't try to overdo it. Don't try to go too far in the direction of what's working. Just try to balance it out the best you can. So the goaltending's been going well. What else did I wanted to touch on? Oh yeah, the two young kids that we talked about going into the season. They've been playing well lately. They're, Marat Khusnutdinov, Fraser Minten. I don't know if you had any specific thoughts on them, but I like Khusnutdinov in that first line role that they've been using him in lately. I think he really can be sort of a complementary. He could be like a complementary first line guy if you put him with like an elite center, like someone better than Elias Lindholm. Like, I get it, get that, but like Pastrnak, obviously an elite player. If James Higgins comes up and he is that sort of, that elite 90, 100-point number 1 center, you put him with Pastrnak, I think you can get away with a guy like Khusnutdinov in that role. And Fraser Minten, I think he's been pretty consistent over the course of the year in terms of his effort and like what he can bring to the table in terms of the little things, but he's been scoring. He scored in his hometown recently, was that Vancouver. So like he's looked good. I think that's a check mark for us to say we were coming in the season saying like these guys are going to stick. Like these aren't going to be guys they turn around in trades. They are actually going to be pieces of the future. So I like what they've been getting out of those guys lately. But just I'll cede the floor to you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, Khusnutdinov has kind of proven to be a speedier, more offensive-minded Danton Heinen, right? Where you can move him all over the lineup. He's good in the fourth line. He's also good in the first line. You need players like that, right? Like, that's what has made Florida such a great team, is being able to do that with guys like Evan Rodriguez or guys like Luostarinen. Being able to move those guys up and down has been key to them. And I mean, it was a key for the Bruins when the Bruins were in their heyday. Like they had guys like that you could move up and down and still get valuable contributions out of them. I mean, remember they had a whole season where like Timmy Schaller was like a second line winger for them, and he wasn't horrible. Like he wasn't putting up 50 points, but he was valuable. Riley Nash, great example, a guy that could move up and down, fourth line, third line, first line, whatever you need, he can do it. So those players are valuable, and a guy like Khusnutdinov, I think, this is why you give him the rope that you do, right? This is why you acquire him, and we've talked about it on this podcast and on the radio before, but like, you don't acquire that guy from Minnesota when he's stuck on the fourth line in Minnesota and then put him on the fourth line in Boston. That's kind of repeating what the mistake that Minnesota made, right? Like you want to elevate him and put him with star players. And, the problem for the Bruins right now, you alluded to it, they don't have enough star players, right? So how you build those guys up right now is interesting, but I love when it's Minten, Khusnutdinov, and Pastrnak. I love that line because I think you're elevating two younger players into more offensive minutes, and you're trying to give them more confidence that they can make offensive plays in the NHL level. And I feel like with both players, that's something that they weren't necessarily given in their previous stops. Minten was a young player, but look at that depth chart. He's behind Tavares and Matthews forever. So his role is not going to be offensive by nature. It's going to be more two-way, more defensive zone, all of that. And we mentioned Khusnutdinov's on the fourth line in Minnesota. Like, you bring them in here, you have them learn defensively what they should be doing, but then you give them a guy like Pastrnak, and it's like, all right, now you're building the complete player here. So I like doing that if I'm the coaching staff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good. It's great that they're getting that experience on top of how they're playing, whether they play well or not. It's good to see them getting the experience. Okay, Grim, nice to see you. She's awake.
Yeah. Yancey Street. What's up? What's going on?
Big stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't switched over to YouTube by now to see Grim, I don't know what the hell you're doing with yourself. Okay, this is the Sports Hub Underground. We're on YouTube right now. But you can get us, of course, on Apple, Spotify, Sports Hub app, Sports Hub website. If you're new, give us hit this thing with a like, subscribe to us on the YouTubes and all the pod apps. If you're into our just insane banter, combined with the hockey talk and the cats in the background, it's just, I think we are probably the most like chaotic program on the Sports Hub.
Yeah, I would
feel
agree
like
with that.
the radio by its very nature is pretty segmented.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think there's people in our building which, like, nothing against them personally, but I don't know that they quite understand podcasts, where it's like they don't understand why we're not doing specific segments and hitting on them and sticking to the clock and all that. No, it's kind of free form. It's kind of chaos. That's kind of the best podcast there. You never really know which direction they're going to go in.
Yeah, I also like I'm terrible with the clock in general. I'm actually pretty good with it on the hockey show, but like if you give me like a Monday through Friday show, I'm blasting through the breaks. I'm terrible with it. So I'm very I prefer podcasting. It's much more natural to me, I think.
I'm similar, where it's like I try my best, but I think when you and I are on the radio, I think there's both times when we've been looking at each other talking, where it's like, all right, it's 3:17. We're gonna go to hit the break.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. It's true.
And then you're looking at me, like, man, why do you shut up? I'm trying to get us to break.
Yeah. I was holding a sign being like, wrap it up. We gotta go.
Yeah, please clap.
Yeah.
Where was I? Back to the Bruins. What else was there? Oh yeah, I wanted to touch on Pavel Zacha. He has 6 points in his last 6 games or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He had a hat trick the other day. I believe you're working on something right now. I don't know if you're publishing it, or I don't know if it's going to go up anytime soon, but I know you're going to have thoughts on Zacha, because it's starting to get interesting for him. Like, he's on pace for another 50-plus point season. He keeps up his recent streak. He could top 60 points. So like, he's been good. He's been a good Bruin. But like, there might be debates coming up, questions over whether he should be traded or whether they should re-sign him, make him part of their future. I don't think he should be part of the long-term plans. Like, I think he could be a fine top 6, forward, number 2 center, number 2 left wing on a team that's ready to win the cup right now. So if there's a team out there that thinks they should, ship off, I think Zacha should get you a first-round pick based on how deadline trades have gone.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Bruins specifically last year, like, they should be able to get a first-round pick plus for Zacha. If there's a contending team that looks at him and says, we could use a little more skill on the left side and a guy that can occasionally play center if we need him, and they're like on the doorstep of a cup, and it's like he could be that last little piece, then I could see a team shipping off a first round pick to get him from the Bruins and give him that long term deal. It's like we're gonna lock you in. You're gonna be our top 6 guy going forward as we contend for cups. Like in the Bruins, I think are still at least they're a few steps away from contending for cups. So I don't think Zacha should be part of their long term plans. I think identifying their number 1 and number 2 center of the future, like I think Hagen's has to be one of those, or else that's going to be a problem. And then identify someone else. I don't know. Maybe Elias Lindholm can settle in as a number 2 center long term. We'll see. But I personally don't think Zacha should be part of their long term plans. I think they should trade him, especially considering you could probably get a first round pick and maybe a decent prospect for him. What say you, Ty Anderson, about the status of Pavel Zacha?
I mean, listen, if you make him available today, you're getting more than what you're talking about. I mean, he would be the absolute darling of the deadline. He would commit because he has term, so he would command a first round pick, probably another pick, probably a second round pick, and a prospect. He would. I mean, the market's not good.
Yeah.
Tell me who the best player is in the market right now. Is it Nazem Kadri, who's already kind of said like that he wouldn't mind staying in Calgary? Like, so who is it? Kiefer Sherwood? Okay, well, he's a winger. He's a gritty winger, and like I have nothing against him, but like, what are you doing there? Like
Sherwood assaulted an Uber driver the other night.
Didn't he? I don't know.
I'm joking. That happened? That was Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, I was gonna be like, did I miss that? Because Twitter algorithms now are like showing me things from 6 days ago for some reason. No, but
Twitter is like worse than ever. I feel like I say
so
that
bad.
once a month. But
you can't follow the
really
news on there
anymore.
Days. You can't follow the news on there anymore. It's horrible. I get stuff with memes and ads about like things that happened 2 weeks ago. It's I've never seen anything like it. It's so hard, right? Because like he would be the belle of the deadline. He would bell of the deadline ball. You would get everything you want and more, I think, by trading him because the market is so thin. But the question is, can you replace his talent? Can you replace what he does for you? You have hope that Letourneau and Hagens and Zellers and these guys will come up and be good. But while those guys are growing and developing, you like to have a guy who can pot 20 every year. You're getting 20 goals out of this guy, which has kind of been the case this year or throughout Zacha's 4 years here. That you're getting 20 goals. Last year, I think he falls just short of it, but he's playing hurt from like March on, by the way. Really like nagging injury that he had that really limited him, actually caused him to skip the Worlds. I was talking to players into the year about Zacha, and I was like, oh, is he going to Worlds? And everyone's like, dude, he's been battling through this injury that really sucks. And I was like, really? Like, I didn't know that, but like they said, it'd been affecting him for well over a month at that point. So he probably hits 20 a year ago if he's healthy the final month of the season. But nevertheless, and that's where it comes down to for the Bruins. Like the Bruins got very lucky finding Morgan Geekie, right? But let's look beyond that. Have they excelled at bringing in players that have that kind of like mid-tier, mid-range scoring, right? Like, yeah, they've been good at finding lottery tickets, like Alex Steeves giving you what he has, right? And Jonathan Aspero giving you what he has, but like goal scoring, point production, bona fide, consistent top 6 production has not been their strong suit when it comes to finding those kind of players. And so that's the problem with trading a guy like that. And also the problem is the ripple effect of what does it say to guys like Pastrnak and Zadorov and McAvoy, who are giving you what they have, playing hurt. McAvoy's playing with a bubble on his face for the last, month, basically, that, hey, we're going to sell again, right? Like, can you sell them on that long-term vision? But I do agree with you that I almost think that what you get in a trade for Pavel Zacha is more valuable to your franchise than what Pavel Zacha will bring you on a 7-year deal into his mid-30s. You know what I'm saying? Like, So like, I see what you're saying in that regard. You got to trust them to find the next Pavel Zacha, which I'm not there yet. And you got to think about the room and the message that you are sending to the room if you do trade him. But bringing it all home here, Matt, I do think it's interesting. I think he's the most intriguing case for Don Sweeney in terms of where are the Bruins right now? If I ask you, where are the Bruins right now? You don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. Don Sweeney doesn't know the answer. But what he does with Pavel Zacha will tell you definitively where he thinks this team is and where they can be in terms of their timeline to being a legit Stanley Cup contending team again.
So but like, I didn't mean like sell out, do another thing like they did last year, like sell everything.
No.
If they only trade Zacha and they get what you're talking about, like first, second, good prospect, like if they only make that one move, is that him telling the team like, let's punt on this year. We're not going to make it. Better luck next year.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is because I think that he's been that good for you. So that's like sort of like the yin and the yang here, right? Like you want to sell him now because he's on pace for a career high 25 goals. He's playing center, he's playing wing, he's top power play. But he's doing all of that for you without a backup. Like it's not like you love the idea of Fraser Minten being your second line center. You might like it, but you don't love it, right? Like he's not undeniable just yet, right? And then so where are you putting the pressure on? You're putting it on Milstead. You're putting it on James Higgins when he turns pro. Like I think for the Bruins, I think they like the idea of Zacha being a nice line mate for James Higgins once James Higgins turns pro.
So you think they're leaning towards riding it out with Zacha because he's got 2 years left after this year.
So he's got this year and
ride it out, maybe trade him in a couple of years when his deal's up.
I don't think they're going to trade him this deadline. I would not be surprised if they extend him this July rather. But I think they look at him as more part of their future plans. But if the trade deadline market is as barren as it looks right now because you have so many teams that are still in it, I mean, if you can get a pretty penny, it's like the Green Goblin mask talking to Don Sweeney. You know what I mean? Being like, come on, do it. Trade him. You can get 2 first-round picks. Trade him. Like, it's going to be hard to say no. It just is. And I think this is where, we talked about it a year ago. We'll talk about it again now. The stones it takes to be a seller, right? And you have to be cold. You have to be heartless, and it's hard. It's hard to do. And that's something that I'd wonder about with Pavel Zacha. I think he is such a windfall for them, right? You trade 1 year of Eric Haula for a guy who's proven to be a piece of your core, right? And so like when you have so few wins like that, I think that also makes it harder to move on from that player. And so if somebody wants to get stupid and offer you 2 first-round picks and a prospect for Pavel Zacha, I'm listening. But if that doesn't happen, I'm probably keeping him. That's how I would look at things if I'm Don Sweeney right now.
Sure. Yeah, no, look, if like you said, if teams are getting stupid, if you're talking about the kind of packages that you're alluding to, I mean, you have to listen. I think you got to do it, but they got to at least pick up the phone and talk about it. I definitely wouldn't think. I get what you're saying about him, being the core and, what he means to the team, and they might even keep him for, long term and all that, and the message that it would send trading him. But if you're talking 2 first, second prospect, like you got to at least think about that. I don't think Pavel Zacha should be like an untouchable.
No, I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying that I think for them to entertain it, you would have to really take advantage of some stupidity from another team, some desperation from another team, where they are like Toronto was a year ago for Brandon Carlo. Like they paid, that's an overpay for Brandon Carlo. And I like Brandon Carlo a lot, but that's an overpay. If someone wants to do that for Pavel Zacha, then you listen for sure.
For sure. Yeah, look, I think he can be he could be what he's been for the Bruins for a contending team. Like he could probably be even better when he's got more talent around him to that end. But like, yeah, you start to talk about the packages you're talking about. Like you're going all in for the cup. You're with Pavel Zacha. That probably would be stupid on the part of the other team. But like, that just goes to show that, he's having a good year. And if the Bruins want to get good value out of him, now probably is the time to do it. I mean, maybe when he's up in a couple of years, they could do it, but like in a couple of years, they could be good again. You never know. Higgins is having a breakout year. Like you never know.
And you might not so here's the other part of the equation for the Bruins, right? Like let's say they're a playoff team this year and they choose not to sell Pavel Zacha. Okay. What if Pavel Zacha has another mediocre playoff run? You know what I mean? Like, cause he hasn't been a great playoff performer in his career. He has 1 goal in 25 playoff games. So what if you keep him? You're a wild card team. You lose in the first round. And he has 2 assists in 6 games. You know what I mean? Like, does that hurt his value next year when he doesn't have a year of term left on his contract? And now you're going from getting two first round picks or a first round pick and a prospect to a conditional second that can become a first, and like a mid-level prospect. Like there are levels to the thinking here, right? And that's why I think that for the Bruins, like they're not going to trade him. I think they're going to trade. Like, all right, if the Bruins sell, I think they're going to lightly sell, and I think they're gonna try to move on from Victor Arvidsson. They're gonna see if anyone wants Mason Lohrei or Casey Middlestad or maybe Henry Jokiharju, maybe Jonas Korpisalo. Like, I think that would be their version of selling more than Pavel Zacha. But I think that's again bringing it back to what I said. I think it will take someone getting absolutely dumb for them to want to trade Pavel Zacha right now.
Yeah, I get it. I think lightly selling is definitely a good plan too. Like the guys you mentioned, they could probably get, if they could get like a second or a third for guys like you're talking about, like I definitely, absolutely 100% would think about that.
I would not be surprised if they make a defensive trade of some sort. And I don't want to say
they bring in a defenseman, you mean? Like
no. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they make a cut from their back end right now.
Okay.
I don't have any specifics here, but
beyond Jokiharju, because it's like what is he to the organization?
You have Jokiharju, you have Lohrei, you just extended Aspero, so you're not going to waive him. You have Jordan Harris coming back, and they liked what he gave them when he was healthy. Hampus Lindholm is currently on IR. Like, there's kind of a little bit of a reckoning coming here in terms of that room. I feel like if and when they get fully healthy, of course you have to get there first to really worry about that. But I look at that third pairing right now, and Aspero, I think it's interesting that Marco is talking about Jonathan Aspero after he gets this extension. And he says there's a reason why he beat guys for a job here. And in my head, I'm going, he beat guys for a job here. Who's been traded? Who's been waived? No one's been traded or waived yet. So he took someone else's job. Whose job did he take? We're going to find that out when Hampus Lindholm comes back and when Jordan Harris comes back, whose job he took. So I think that's what's intriguing about this. And now they could easily just say, oh, you know what, we're going to waive Jeff Vial, who's played like 6 games this year, whatever it is. And we're going to run with 2 defensemen as healthy scratches on the back end instead of just 1. But like, you got a lot of bodies there. So if you get fully healthy, you might have to make a call there with one of these guys.
Yeah, no, I think that room is sort of due for a shakeup. I don't think just getting rid of Brandon Carlo was enough of a shakeup for that room. So I'm interested in that, and I kind of hope it happens, but we'll see. We'll see what actually happens, and then we will react. You got time for one more quick topic, Ty?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So if you're listening right now, it's a Thursday afternoon before the Bruins play Seattle at TD Garden. Zdeno Chara will be getting his number 33 raised to the Raptors, as he absolutely deserves. And he's obviously a member of the organization now. Is some kind of, I forget his exact title, but it's a little nebulous what he does for the team right now. But tell me your favorite Zdeno Chara moment. Like, what I want to try to make this evergreen, because I don't want to talk about the retirement ceremony or anything like that. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite Zdeno Chara moment?
Favorite moment for me was probably so off the ice. I loved. There's a story that I have of my friends and I would always go to Bruins games, and back then they practiced in Wilmington. You can go to the practices, meet them after. Yep. Like, they were the 4th team in town. Nobody really cared. My friend Nick had a Bruins tattoo on his forearm. And Chara saw it. This was back in 2008. Chara sees the tattoo. Nick is like 19, 20. We're young back then. I'm like 2 years younger than him. And Chara goes, "Is that real?" My friend Nick is like, yeah, it's real. He goes, "Your parents let you do that?" And he goes, yeah, they didn't care. He goes, then Chara's next question is, "Can I touch it?" And he's like, yeah. And he was touching like my friend Nick's Bruins tattoo, like, "This is really cool." He's like, "Wow, this is really nice." And I was like, I love this. What wonder of Zdeno Chara right now. No,
he just started melting.
It was so funny. Like, he was so interested. He's like, "That's real? Can I touch it?" Like, Chara was still kind of newer to Boston. It was his second or third year. Yeah. And so he's realizing how the culture is here and how people love the Boston Bruins. Like, even the young ones are getting Bruins tattoos now. No, but
who knows? Maybe your friend Nick turned Zdeno Chara into a better player, made him dedicate himself to Boston. That was the moment.
Yeah, maybe.
Once I saw that kid's tattoo and he let me touch it.
Yeah.
Now I'm Boston for life.
I would say
Shout out to Ty's friend Nick, friend of the program.
I would say that my favorite on the ice moment, I've never seen a defensive performance as dominant as the one that I saw in 2011 in terms of the shutdown against the Sedins with he and Seidenberg matched up against them was just phenomenal. I think as a pure hockey fan, it was just like it was next level defensive mastery. And now it's an obvious answer, right? Because they won the Stanley Cup that year. But like the levels that he hit in his prime as a defenseman were levels that I haven't seen from anybody else. And I understand that Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes and Erik Karlsson, these guys are phenomenal at what they do, but like just a complete package of a defenseman, like Zdeno Chara in his prime, there was nobody even touching him, I think, in this era. I know Nicholas Lidstrom in his prime was obviously an amazing defenseman, same with Niedermeyer and Chris Pronger, but you go...
Chara's a little after them, I would say.
Yeah, and you look at who he went against, prime Crosby, prime Ovechkin, Le Cavalier, St. Louis, the Sedins, like there were some heavy hitters in that era, and Chara would erase them entirely from games. It was just so impressive. And I think that was something that I really loved. And what I loved about Chara too, and this is on the ice and off the ice, is that he wanted you to do your job as good as he did his job. I remember my first year voting on the awards. I was so excited. I was voting on the NHL Awards, first time in my career. And he wanted to talk to me about, hey, who are you voting for? So like I told him, he's like, I don't like that vote. Like he would tell you, like, I don't like that vote. And I'd be like, oh, you don't?
Right.
He's like, no, this guy is not as good as this. And the award should be about this, not that. Like he would kind of pick your brain because he wanted you to be better at your job. And I think that's kind of just his overall mindset. He wants everyone around him to be doing things as good as he can be doing them or as good as they should be doing them. And I think that's something that I really liked about him.
Yeah, so who you vote for the Norse? Erik Karlsson, he scored a lot of points. Get out. Just
basically
out of the locker room.
Basically. No, but he wanted to know like who you thought was a good player, who you thought was a bad player, and he would tell you why you were right or wrong. And I loved that. I respected that. I want that. He is the reason why, Matt, and I talked to you about this on this podcast. When I'm voting for the awards now every year, I talk to players. I never would have thought of doing that before Chara asked me who I was voting for. You know what I mean? Like that's how a little thing that he did that's now instilled in my brain that, you know what, I should talk to the players, the guys who actually play the game before I just write down who I think is good. Like, no, like, and that's just a little example of how he makes everyone around him 1% better every day. That's what you want to do in life. It should be 1% better every day. And Chara, I think, embodied that totally.
See, now that I think of it, when I vote, I get to vote for the Pro Football Writer Awards. Not that those really mean anything, but like they are awards.
Yeah.
Like for like guys, things like offensive linemen and special teamers. Maybe I should actually talk to the players and see what they think.
Yeah.
As opposed to just trying to like make it up on my own. Which is treacherous when it comes to positions like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people get it wrong all the time about 2011. Like, that was just Tim Thomas carrying them on his back. Not really.
Right.
There are a couple games here and there where he was heroic and deserved the Conn Smythe, but Zdeno Chara was dominant that run. And, Patrice Bergeron emerged as probably the best two-way center of his time at like pretty much in that series is when he sort of announced like, you don't F with me in the playoffs. I am the best. So I don't agree with the people that act like, that was just Tim Thomas carrying the Bruins. The hot goalie team, those teams don't actually win. It's usually there's other things at play there. Those teams, the hot goalie teams come up short. So that was a good pick. What was my pick? Oh yeah, I'm going to point to another defensive performance. I'm glad you didn't make my pick. When they shut down the Penguins and swept them in 2013. I remember going into the series like, oh my God, what are they going to do about Crosby and Malkin? Completely shut him down. I mean, Tuukka Rask was dominant in that series. That was one of his finest hours as a Bruins goalie. But Chara, I remember being dominant in that series too. And I don't know if I'm conflating the two things. You can correct me. I think like, is that the series where you get that famous shot? I can't get past the shot of Chara leaning over and laughing in Crosby's face like a maniac.
It was then. Series? Yeah, it was then. It was
okay, that's my Chara pick. That's my favorite Chara moment. It's just that picture of him with just the crazy eyes in Crosby's face. I think that sort of almost embodies what he was as a player.
I agree.
Just a psycho.
I agree. No, that was a phenomenal series. He also has a great He has a great shot block, and I don't know if it's game 3 or game 4. I know it's in Boston, but he blocks. Everyone talks about the Greg Campbell block, but Chara had an amazing block in that series as well to deny. I want to say it was Malkin, and Malkin, his game was on fire that playoff run. He was unbelievable. People forget, because they had so much talent, right? They had Crosby, they had Iginla, they had James Neal, Chris Kunitz, Pascal Dupuis. Like they had all these guys that were scoring goals for them.
Right.
But Malkin was on another level in that playoff run, and Chara shut him down big time. So, yeah, that's a great pick as well.
All right. So that was good, Chara reminiscing. I might have to clip this one little part and put it out for the people.
Yeah, let's do it.
But that'll do it for this week's pod. We're at about the hour mark, so I you got a train to catch. You got to get to the game earlier than usual, so I will let you go, Ty. Any closing thoughts? No? Good?
Nope.
All right. Thank you. Thanks if you made it this far. Thanks. I love you. One more time. This is the Sports Hub Underground. I'm Matt Dolph. He's Ty Anderson. That's Grim in the background. We're going to continue. We're going to try to get back to doing regular podcasts. We took a bit of a breather after end of the year vacation time. We did 8 hours of radio, so we needed to decompress a little bit. But the pod is back. We will keep doing pods, and we'll be back sometime soon. Maybe next week. We'll see how it goes. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll talk to you again soon.